Daniel Ricciardo is without a seat in Formula One for 2023, having been bought out of the third year of his McLaren contract after 2 seasons of underperformance with the Woking squad. Will the Australian ever return back to the F1 grid? Let's find out. Daniel Ricciardo's journey in Formula One has been nothing short of a rollercoaster ride. From his early days as a Red Bull junior driver to his struggles with McLaren, the Australian driver has faced his fair share of highs and lows. But now, with his return to the Red Bull fold as a reserve driver, Ricciardo is looking to reset and come back stronger than ever. After being linked to possible race seats with Haas and Williams for the 2023 season, Ricciardo surprised many by announcing that he would be taking a year off from racing. It's a decision that many can relate to, as burnout and mental exhaustion are real issues that can affect anyone, no matter how successful they may be. Now, as he serves as Red Bull's reserve and simulator driver, Ricciardo is taking the time to recharge and refocus. And while his chances of being promoted to a race seat alongside Max Verstappen in the near future may be slim, he remains optimistic about his future in the sport. Australian F1 legend and champion Jones, however, doesn't expect to see the Australian racing in F1 in the future, as he isn't sure if there will be an opening anywhere next year. Jones said, "I don't think he will get a drive at Red Bull unless something happens to the 2 current drivers. I can't see him doing a Grand Prix. I doubt he will be on the grid in 2024. At the end of the day, there is probably no reason why Red Bull won't re-sign Perez, and obviously Verstappen is locked in, and I can't see anybody at Ferrari re-signing or going away, so I just can't see where he can go." He added, "Obviously, everybody likes to go out on a high note, and it's just unfortunate that for whatever reason, and I don't think he knows himself, why his performance dropped off. As I said before, I just can't see him getting back into Formula One." Speaking about where it went wrong for Ricciardo, 1980 world champion Jones suggested that the 33-year-old could have been too distracted by his outside interests. He said, "I don't think he even knows himself. I just think he went off the boil. Really, in my own opinion, I think he concentrated and spent a bit too much time on his activities out of the cockpit rather than in it. That's my opinion." However, 1996 F1 world champion Damon Hill remained slightly more optimistic about Daniel Ricciardo's return to F1. He rated the Australian's chances of a return to the grid as 50-50, though the Brit was mystified about what went missing for him previously. Hill said, "I would say it's 50-50 if he will ever get back in an F1 car at the moment. He is a very popular guy. He is clearly someone that has brought a lot of colour and a lot of amusement. His never-say-die attitude has been impressive. And his race wins as well, his driving. But something went missing. We are not sure where. It just disappeared, and it is mystifying to me, probably as it is to him." Hill believes that Ricciardo's decision to step away from the grid rather than accept a role with a smaller team was the right call. He stated, "It's very difficult when you have been at the sharp end to race in Formula One and be motivated if you are in a less competitive car. I think that's the big worry. If you drive a less competitive car, you lose your mojo. That's the last thing he needs to do right now, is appear to be unmotivated." Ricciardo's current situation appears more akin to a voluntary sabbatical than a forced withdrawal from the sport. Mark Blundell believes the Australian may find it more difficult than returning world champions like Fernando Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen did. Although Nico Hülkenberg's return after 3 years for 2023 may give Ricciardo some comfort. Speaking about the situation, the 1992 Le Mans winner and former Brabham, Tyrrell, Ligier and McLaren racer pointed out that Ricciardo may find it far more difficult to return to the grid than he might expect. He said, "I'm not sure that the situation is that he wanted to stay away. I think there's maybe a bigger story behind whether, firstly, the seat was available to him. Secondly, was it actually viable for him to go and get on the grid? It may be a team that wasn't going to be as strong as what he would like. Sitting out the year comfortably, yes, okay. It gives him some downtime. But I think it's still going to be quite hard for him to pick himself up and get back on the grid again, in a team that he will feel is deserving of what he needs performance-wise. He's got to do the work. I don't think it's going to be an open door for him to come back on the grid easily. He's going to have to prove himself and work at it." While Ricciardo's F1 future may be uncertain at the moment, there are still plenty of possibilities for him to explore. Whether it's with Alpine, Red Bull, or another team altogether, there's every chance that he could find his way back onto the grid and continue his impressive career in the world's most prestigious racing series. Let's look at teams that are likely to offer the Honey Badger a contract. It's true that Alpine's current lineup looks relatively stable, with both Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon locked in for the foreseeable future. However, as history has shown, things can quickly change in the F1 world. And if there's one thing that Ricciardo's career has demonstrated, it's that he's never one to count out. After all, the Australian driver has a proven track record of success with Renault, now Alpine, having secured multiple podiums and even a race win during his time there. And while Gasly and Ocon may be in the driver's seat for now, any unforeseen tensions between the two could create an opening for Ricciardo to step in. Although a possibility, the chances of Daniel Ricciardo replacing Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes seem rather slim. Hamilton has made it clear that he has no immediate plans to retire and is eager to continue competing for years to come. Furthermore, Mercedes has already confirmed their interest in retaining the 7-time world champion and have even hinted at the possibility of signing him to a multi-year deal. However, it is worth noting that before joining Red Bull as a reserve driver, Ricciardo was being considered by Mercedes for a third driver role. This may suggest that the team sees potential in the Australian driver and could be keeping an eye on him for the future. The possibility of Daniel Ricciardo driving for Alfa Romeo in 2023 is one that could be both mutually beneficial for the Australian and the team. With Zhou Guanyu still relatively untested, the team's faith in him appears to be tentative at best. Ricciardo, on the other hand, is a proven driver with a wealth of experience under his belt. Moreover, Ricciardo would relish the opportunity to work with Andreas Seidl again, who he had a successful partnership with at McLaren. The prospect of Audi's future involvement with the team would also be an exciting prospect for Ricciardo, given the close relationship he shares with the carmaker. Right now, if you had to put money on what colours of overalls Ricciardo would be wearing heading into 2024, there would be more than a few picking Red Bull. Christian Horner has never sought to hide how much he admires his former pupil, and the third driver role was very much a lifeline handed out to a man who looked as if he was going to be out of the paddock altogether. There is another man inside the Red Bull garage that, Baku 2018 aside, had a good relationship with the Australian, and that is Max Verstappen, which makes for an interesting narrative heading into 2023. At times, Verstappen's relationship with Sergio Perez seemed to deteriorate in 2022, and if that is a trend that continues into this season, is there a team principal on the grid who would back himself more to get the best out of Ricciardo than Horner? We all know Ricciardo rejected a Haas seat for 2023, but the stars could align for Gunther Steiner and co. to make another move in 2024. Fast forward to a year from now, Ricciardo is itching to get back into Formula 1, so perhaps that Haas deal he turned his nose up to previously now looks a lot more appealing. With Kevin Magnussen out of contract at the end of the upcoming season, and Nico Hülkenberg only confirmed for 2023, although the team does have an option on him for 2024, Haas could once again be in the market for a new driver, and Steiner does not seem like the kind of man to hold a grudge, especially when he could get a driver of the caliber of Ricciardo in the team. As with any F1 season, 2023 is set to have its twists and turns, not just on the track, but also in the driver's market. So when the silly season begins, there's no doubt Ricciardo will be an ever-present shadow looming on anyone not performing to their team's standards. Now over to you. Will Ricciardo ever get the opportunity to race in F1? Let us know in the comment section below. That will be all for today's video. Thanks for staying tuned. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you can always get to watch more videos like this. See you in the next video.